Welcome to the Tech Transfer Podcast. This is Dave Brown, and today I am interviewing Jason Lowe, who's one of our student employees. He's interested in entrepreneurship and will be launching his own company soon. And I'm going to ask him about startups and why students do or don't want to do startups. But first, Jason, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Of course, yeah. So my name is Jason. I'm a finance student at BYU. I've been in the finance program for about a year and a half, and I'm a junior here. So I got in after my freshman year. I've always been interested in finance, business leadership, and then also entrepreneurship. And I felt like finance was a really good avenue to get there. So currently, like I said, I've done a year in the program, and I'm right now in the Sandbox program at BYU, which is basically a startup incubator. It connects product managers or the business acumen individuals with the software engineers, and then they create a startup throughout the year, and they pitch to investors at the end. So these next few weeks and months, I'm creating a company with some buddies, and excited to see where that goes. But as in terms of connecting with the Tech Transfer Office, I've wanted to be working with the Tech Transfer Office for over a year, probably 2 years now. I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, and it is so great to have enthusiastic entrepreneurial student employees in Tech Transfer. It's the best kind. Jason came here to look through our inventory and find something that was right for him and his buddies to do a startup company, and that's going well. And it's just really great. When we present in classrooms, it's nice to have a student presenting, also giving a face to Tech Transfer that the other students can relate to. But I have a list of questions here today, and these are questions or concerns rather that students have when they think about starting a startup company. We were just talking to someone this week, a student who really wanted to do a startup company, but just felt like it might be too time consuming and too hard right now. And a lot of people miss out on opportunities maybe because of these concerns. So Jason, I'm going to ask you maybe a concern at a time, and just let me know what you would tell a student who has this concern.
All right.
Okay, so number one, lack of experience and knowledge. I've never done anything. I've never started a company. Sounds fun, but I don't know where to start.
I would say that's the point of starting a company. I've noticed this year as I'm in the Sandbox program, basically my whole entire class load is just starting something. Like I have 3 classes during the week, and those teach you some stuff, but like learning by doing has been the biggest avenue for me this last few weeks as the semester has started. And I feel like I've learned so much in comparison to what I've learned before. I learned a lot in classes, yes, but actually having to step out there and do it and be scrappy provides you so much information. And instead of just sitting on the sideline and saying I don't, and feeling like I don't know enough, which I've definitely felt that way before, I feel like for me, actually stepping into it has made it so all of a sudden after a month, I realize, wow, I totally know enough to do something like this. And you don't get that experience unless you step into the fire.
Yeah, and when I was a student, I kind of felt like I liked school, but I always felt like this isn't real world. There's something else going on. So starting a company, you're actually experiencing something real.
Oh, yeah.
Can you think of one thing specifically that you've learned from your entrepreneurial things that you couldn't have or didn't learn in the classroom?
I've learned the power of connection and also of like being self-motivated. I've had the chance to reach out to a bunch of CEOs of companies from varying sizes because of my entrepreneurial background, and you realize that, I mean, especially as a college student, you have so much access to those individuals. And if you say you're a college student at BYU, they're like 75% of the likely to talk with you and to give you input on your life or your business strategy. But one of the most valuable things is just being able to kick down the door and like put yourself there and to not be shy about putting yourself in front of powerful individuals. And that's something that I've only learned from just having to do it with starting my own thing. And you don't learn that in school. You learn how to do the back end stuff and how to do the work, but really stepping through the door and making connections has been huge.
Yeah, and one of our student entrepreneurs, if you came here and licensed a tech transfer technology and then went out and talked to 100 companies and it didn't work for some reason, that's still massively beneficial. Even if you go work for someone else, there's a lot to learn from it. Okay, great answer. The next one, and this is one you hear a lot too, is financial risk. Like a lot of students will want to do a startup company, but they'll say, look, I'm a student, I'm broke, and how can I even do this? What would you tell them?
That is the amazing blessing of the Tech Transfer Office, I would say. There's so much. So I didn't realize this until I learned about the Tech Transfer Office. But like I said, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but all the entrepreneurship professors talk about it. There's so much technology that's heavily researched and developed here at the Tech Transfer Office that Dave and the people at Tech Transfer Office are making it as seamless as possible for students to take those technologies. And that has to do with financial risk as well. So it doesn't cost any money up front to be working with the technology. obviously you need to be self-motivated and you need to be able to push through challenges. But that's one of the great things. You can get something that's heavily researched at not a very, very large financial cost to you. Another thing I'd say about that is with risk comes reward. So like, not to say that you should be putting a bunch of money into something entrepreneurial, but if you have a goal that's entrepreneurial, then go work an extra 5 hours a week and make enough money, make an extra, like, whatever that is, $50, $60 a week, which is $200, $250 a month to put into your own product, your own entrepreneurial venture. If you really have that goal, then make subsets of that goal to work towards, and you can totally do it.
Okay, so I think one good takeaway for tech transfer practitioners, if you're in a tech transfer office and you're thinking, how do I work better with students? One key is when you do student startup companies, you need to make it so there's no financial obligation up front. So do deals that rely on equity and a royalty stream or a percent of exit in the future, something like that. Push off patent costs. Make it so that students realize that at least for a period of time, at least while they're proving the thing out, there's no actual cost to it. And then the other thing is, I think a lot of people would agree that the number one business skill is raising money. So if students have to learn that, then you need to understand that even for experienced entrepreneurs, you don't want to put your own money into your company. Then you're just drinking your own Kool-Aid, at least not too much of it, right? You need to be able to raise money from other people. Have you had any experience, Jason, raising money from other people for your startup yet? Or do you want to talk about some of the funding options on campus? That's interesting too.
Yeah, both of those. So I'm in the process of reaching out to some people for funding opportunities. I've had the experience because I'm in the finance program. I've worked with VCs from the other side of things, and I've had to reach out to individuals to try to invest in them and not the other way around. But that's definitely a process. And again, pushing your foot through the door is huge in that, and not just backing down when you get rejection, because there'll be 100 no's and then 2 yeses or 1 yes, and that's all that matters. In terms of BYU funding opportunities, there are amazing opportunities at BYU that I, again, as of 2 years ago, did not realize exist. Without having to win any kind of competition, you can get over 50 grand to put towards your own startup, which is insane. There, a few off the top of my head, there's a lot of competitions like I talked about. Student Innovator of the Year is amazing, and you can win up to, I think it's like 12 grand for that. And there's varying tiers, obviously, and you get some money to just prototype just for entering into the competition.
I think I remember it's $400 to prototype.
$400 prototype.
Yeah.
And then there's the Ballard Center for Social Impact. If you're making any kind of company that has social influence or impact, you can get up to 24 grand, again, tiered funding. I think the first 2 tiers are 500 each to help even just come up with the idea and validate it with other individuals, meaning like make sure people are actually willing to buy it. As well as the big idea pitch put on by the Rollins Center, the seed funding at BYU. There's so many resources, and if you want to learn more about those, you can definitely come in and talk with me, talk with Dave, anyone at the tech transfer. We make it a point to stay connected with those and make sure that they're, again, seamless for entrepreneurs. But yeah, you can make, if you were to win competitions as well, close to 100 grand just from this BYU network area, from winning competitions and getting traction with your idea.
Yeah, and that's just BYU. So we also have other things. So I was meeting with someone from the University of Utah a week ago or so, and we have a very friendly relationship with them. They have a competition there that's bench to bedside. It's a medical term. That's a well-known medical term. I'm not a medical person. But B2B, and it's a great competition. They do a really nice job of it. But I know BYU teams are free to enter that, and there are other competitions like that around. There are also, I guess we won't get specific about naming them, but there are studio model companies that are willing to provide services and funding for students if they have a credible idea.
Oh, yeah.
So there's definitely money out there. And when I talk to other people, like at the Rollins Center, which is our student entrepreneurship center here on campus, they're great. When I talk to people there and in the business school and so on, they just wish more people would apply to take this money and start a company. So pretty solid answers to the financial risk question there, I think. All right, Jason, next question. What about balancing academics? Some students will say, okay, this comes in kind of 2 flavors, I think. Either they'll say, look, I'm really busy. I'm taking 18 credits this semester. Maybe I can think about companies over the summer or next semester or something. Or some people will say, look, I've got this company I've been working on, but now I'm going to medical school, so I guess I'm done with that for now.
That's definitely a big concern for a lot of students, me including at some points in my college academics. right now I'm really blessed because of the sandbox opportunity, and I know that there's multiple things like that. There's the SVA program with the Ballard Center for Social Impact, which is a class that helps you, like that goes towards you starting your own social impact business, as well as Sandbox again, which is almost the whole year you're starting your own company. So that makes it really easy from a academic standpoint because you're really just focusing on that, and that should be the full time during those few months. However, outside of that, I would say that dedicated time is sometimes more important than quantity of time. So if you're able to give like an hour or like 30 minutes a day, it all just depends on your dedication level. But if you're able to give 30 minutes a day to thinking of a solution or have one call with somebody each day to build out your product or to validate it, that makes a ginormous impact. And any small steps forward is way better than just standing still. So I would say there's always something you can be doing. And honestly, it doesn't really matter how packed you are. It all is determined by your motivation. And
when you're working post college, if you're working someplace, maybe you'll want to do some project or be entrepreneurial, but that's just going to be a side hustle thing that you do on evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
So if you think of yourself, I know when you're a student, it feels like you're in class all day, like you're always studying or whatever. But if you can think of that as that's your job, and then you're going to put your extra time into a side hustle here, create something that it seems like you could find the time.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So, okay, great. And like you said, I think that was a pretty good insight too. You can pick classes that are kind of conducive to what you're trying to create as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 4, this is big. This is not just for students. This is for every licensee at Tech Transfer and outside. What about fear of failure? I might do this thing and then it doesn't work. Then what?
Awesome. That's I would say that's another success. Something I've noticed is with every single one of your ventures, first off, you learn so much, but you also make connections. And I know a lot of individuals that have created something that failed, and then that still sparked the interest of somebody next to them or somebody that they had contact with as they were creating that. And that sparked a job opportunity. That sparked them buying out the product so they could utilize it for themselves. But even failures in entrepreneurship are successes. So I would say, yeah, that's totally a valid fear. But try to own it, because that's something that's going to make you that much more valuable and give you that much more skill, that much more like know-how in different industries. So I'd say that's a good thing.
Yeah, and give me your take on this. I always think of, so venture capitalists, the people putting money in, they'll invest in 10 companies knowing that 2 of them will probably make it pretty big and the other 8 will fail at some level, right? So they're accepting that they're going to fail most of the time.
Yeah.
And as a serial entrepreneur, you can do the same thing. You're just doing it one at a time. Start your 10 companies, 1 or 2 of them should succeed. Is that, what do you think of that? Do you think that's a valid strategy as an entrepreneur? Just keep doing it. Just do startup after startup till one of them hits.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you enjoy it, that's definitely a good way to go about it. I would say make sure you're not jumping the ship too early, because a lot of times it takes a while to get some sort of traction. So there's definitely a balance there, but yeah, I mean, keep going for it. Another thing I'd say is from the VC perspective, even if a venture capitalist does invest in you, from my experience, people that I've heard, and venture capitalists that I've talked to, that's also not a really bad thing. They're not like upset at you for them putting money in your business not being able to fail. They expect that to happen to a lot of them, and a lot of people that come and get investments from venture capitalists are, again, those serial entrepreneurs, repeat entrepreneurs, because those investors understand how they went through that trial, and they're still pushing through. And also, they just love to see the way you think. It's more important how you deal with that failure than the fact that you deal with that failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the tech transfer industry, some offices are hesitant to license to student startup companies. And the rationale I've heard for that before is they feel like, 90% of companies fail, so we don't want to set up our students to fail at something. For all the reasons we just discussed, I don't think it's that bad if a student starts a company and then it doesn't succeed. But also, I need to nail down the source for this stat, but I believe it's an autumn statistic, and they were talking about difficult companies like medical device startups maybe out of tech transfer, and they said that the success rate for those, if they come out of tech transfer, is more like 40%.
Wow.
So you're 4 times as likely to succeed if you have a tech transfer technology. And there are some great statistics from MIT and elsewhere about how just having a patent makes your company far more likely to grow. So students who are entrepreneurial are probably going to start something anyway. In tech transfer, if we'll share our technologies with them, they're way more likely to succeed. So on our end, that's probably how we should look at it. Okay, the next one seems to me to be the most credible concern we've come across so far on the list, which is, Jason, what if students say, look, I have a limited network. You're talking about, talking to venture capitalists and other business people and so on. I don't know anyone. What do I do?
That's a great place to be, honestly. I've worked with different VCs and search funds. I'd have to, for my job, reach out to other individuals. And something I know now, because of the fact I've done that, is they're dying to talk with you and to get to know you and to give you advice. And they love when people are paying attention to their own lives and to their own success. And yeah, I would say if you don't know anyone, then start super small. You could talk to a professor and get to know their network. All the professors at BYU are amazing, and they have their own personal networks within the business field, especially if you talk to people in the Marriott School of Business. And beyond that, find a company you really like. Find 5 companies you really like, and then try to find information on how to get in contact with the CEO, if it's like a small enough company, or a medium-sized company, the CEO or someone at that company that has the job that you want, and start by talking to them. Just like as missionaries, I know a lot of people, at least at BYU, have gone out into the world and been missionaries and taught people gospel principles. And just like that, ask referrals at the end, and you'll expand your network faster than you ever thought you could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in a church setting, I was talking to some youth just recently, and we were talking about mentorship for some reason. I said, you don't realize that there are stages of life where you have different motivations, and for some reason, in middle age, for me, I think it's everyone, you do want to help younger people, and kind of help them avoid mistakes you made, or whatever it is, or just succeed faster. And so as a college student, it's easy to underestimate that. I remember when I was in college, I did some internships, and I had mentors there, like guys who were further along in their career who were very helpful for me, and people are probably willing to help you at a higher level than you think.
Oh yeah. One story I'll share. I was doing a case competition for the finance program. We were pitching to investors on a company called HashiCorp, or a company that is now, that had just IPO'd a few years ago. So I was trying to contact the owner or the founder of this company before they IPO'd, meaning they had like hundreds of employees worth a few $1 billion. And I sent an email, it's pretty short, to the CEO, or to the co-founder, not the CEO. And I was like, hey, I'm doing a school project on this company, and I want to learn more about it. Like, do you have 5 minutes of time that you could jump on a call with me? And within 5 minutes, he responded to me. He said, oh, I'd love to. I need to talk to my PR rep and make sure that's okay. He ended up not being able to because they were in the quiet or the dark zone right before IPOing, but amazing. And someone at a big organization is totally willing to help. Make some sort of connection within that email of where they're from or what company they do, and show your real interest in that. And they are so willing to advise you. Like Dave was saying, that's their stage of life, and they have so much knowledge to give.
Yeah, and even where I'm at, when I'm licensing technologies for tech transfer, like if you reach out to alumni from your university, they want to help. If they can help out their alma mater somehow, they want to do that. If you're a student there, they'll want to help you too. So definitely play that student card. All right, so the next one is kind of a pretty real issue, especially for intellectual property. What if students are concerned that I don't understand, there are all these legal and regulatory hurdles to doing what I want to do? It sounds complicated. I don't know where to start. What do we do about that?
One step at a time. I'm dealing with a similar thing myself, and actually was just talking with Dave about that. But again, there are resources at BYU that are so willing to help and give guidance. Even a tech transfer office, like Dave is an amazing resource for wanting to license technologies or talk about patentability or just the protection for any of your ideas. And so come in, have a chat. Like, you're not going to learn unless you start learning. So even if that means looking up online to start learning that sort of thing, or talking to Dave, all hurdles, though, if you break it up into small enough hurdles, can totally be jumped over. So I would say start small, then just go attack it.
Yeah, and you might want to pick up a few books about startup companies. Read up on startup companies. Read the one about, what's the one about Jeff Bezos starting Amazon? It came out a few years ago. Anyway, and it talks about kind of regulations and things they were doing wrong in the early years. When you're a startup, you'll probably make some legal mistakes, but most of them are not going to be fatal. Like, you'll figure it out, and then you'll start complying with whatever regulation it is. So these things take time. You don't have to immediately be hyper sophisticated, and people understand that. But there are definitely resources. Again, alumni, we have attorneys that we've referred students to here who have told us, look, I'll be happy to do a consultation with any student, just give them some pointers and help them know what issues to watch out for. Probably the biggest legal issue they'll deal with is intellectual property. We were talking about, you and I, Jason, were talking about like licensing issues around IP. But yeah, there are resources in tech transfer and elsewhere. And then again, if you're a tech transfer practitioner, I think it's a great thing to try to be a resource to the students. I guess it depends on what the mission of your university and office is a little bit. Here we see experiential learning for students as being important. So if you can sit and talk to them about intellectual property for a while, that's a good thing to do. All right. And there are faculty members too who have expertise in different areas and are willing to help. I'm sure we have people in the law school who would be happy to help. They have a law clinic there. Have you ever interacted with them at all?
No.
Because I know I think they've drafted patents for student startups as well, patent applications. But there are resources like that around. Okay, so next concern, what about students who feel like they lack support? Like, I want to do a startup company, but my boyfriend says it's a dumb idea, and my parents say I should study more, and my friends aren't interested in startups, this sort of thing.
That's a great question. I think everyone deals with that to a certain extent. Something that Dave mentioned earlier comes to mind is reading the books that have to do with business. There are so many entrepreneurs that are in that same exact position, that there are so many people that said you should not be doing this, or you can't do this, or this is a dumb idea. And like sometimes maybe that means it is, maybe it's not a good idea sometimes. But that doesn't mean no. There's still so much success to be had. And so I would say, yeah, go get some books that have to do with entrepreneurship and have to do with these individuals starting their careers. And I feel like at least 50% of those are going to be from individuals that, again, did not have that much support. And hopefully that'll give you motivation to just start off with that. And then there's a lot of other resources at BYU that can help you understand and get confidence in the fact that your idea is not a bad one and that you have a lot of potential there. Like the Rollins Center that Dave mentioned earlier, they're there to help you validate and understand that your idea actually has potential. And there's a lot of resources there that you can utilize. Yeah.
And just generally, if you're trying to do something in your life that's super important to you and you're in a peer group that's really that doesn't accept that, like maybe you should find a new peer group at some point, at some level.
Yeah.
Jason, I know you're friends with a lot of entrepreneurs here on campus. How does that work? How do you connect up with other entrepreneurial students?
There are tons of clubs, so many clubs that you can be a part of, especially if you're a freshman. It's free to join any club that you want. What I did as a freshman is I literally joined every single club in the School of Business, as well as some other ones, and I would go to those all the time. And that widened my network and helped me meet people that are interested in those types of things. Another thing that I'd say, so one is clubs, another is competitions. Tons of competitions with people that are just like you, interested in just talk to a few people there, and you'll create teams for those competitions, and that team is gonna be able to direct you in a lot of ventures later in life. I've done tons of competitions with the Marriott School of Business, and I'm still a very close friend with almost every single person that I've worked with, and they are some of the strongest entrepreneurs that I have moving forward. So those are two things that I would say you could start with. Other than that, come be connected with the Tech Transfer Office. We meet entrepreneurs all the time, and people that are interested in starting a company and want partners or want people to work with or want people that are like-minded. So just join those kind of communities that exist around campus or around the community.
Yeah, and even if you're not a business student, in whatever you're studying, there's probably some kind of business organization. So in life sciences, for example, Tim Jenkins here at BYU teaches a class that's for entrepreneurial life science students, and they're great. They form teams and enter the competitions and everything. So you just need to watch out for those things. That's great. All right, next concern, we've got a couple left. This one is market validation, which is a funny one to ask about because Jason leads up our market validation team here at Tech Transfer. But students might have concerns that, look, I've invented this thing, I think it's cool, it was hard to do, but I don't know if anyone out there even wants it. So how do you approach that?
Awesome question. That's like one of the most important things with entrepreneurship. I would say there's a ton of entrepreneurship classes that you can take that are super low, like very easy, but you can definitely get a really good understanding of how to validate. Also the Rollins Center that we talked about a little bit earlier, but some stuff that they will talk about is researching the idea online. You can do a lot online researching what other things around, like similar to your idea that exist. And that's a really good way to go about it because you can understand how people price things, like what your idea is worth to others, and if that kind of segment exists, if people are already buying whatever idea that you have. After that, talking with anybody that would potentially buy your idea. If you sell to only like business owners of small to mid-size intellectual property companies or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just go again, reach out to the CEOs or to any individual at that company and talk to them about what they already use and about if they would buy that. Beyond that, there's tons of different little hacks that you can use of like making a fake website and seeing how many people go to that website or how many people sign up for your fake product to see if there actually is demand. But there's tons of resources for that around BYU, and even if you were to come into the tech transfer office, I can help with that. I have a team of people that are amazing at doing market research, and we also work with individuals and help them out with their own validation.
Yeah, so I was wondering, Jason, if say I invent something, some engineering thing, a widget, and then I think, this is great. Then I go on Amazon and I look, and there's one out there that's pretty similar to it. Is that good news or bad news?
Good news. I would say that's awesome news. If there's something out there that exists, I mean, it can be good either way, but if there's something out there that exists that's similar to your product, that means people are already paying money for that. If you make yours a little bit different, a little bit better, then they're already spending $10 on this other widget. Why not 12 on yours that's better? There's definitely room in the market for everybody. Randomly, sports drinks just came into my mind. Gatorade has been there for a long time, but there's a lot of other sports drinks that came with very similar products like Body Armor or whatever sports drinks companies they are. A lot of other sports drink companies have come and have disrupted the space. So I'd say that's an amazing sign. That means there's a place for you.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. So yeah, and market validation, so many of these things, to me, it's concerns are less concerning if you just think of them as skills to be acquired. Validation, there are books on the topic, courses, whatever. Jason's learned a lot about it. If you're here locally, he's a great source. And this is just a skill to be mastered. You totally can do it. All right, last one, number 10, time commitment. I want to start a company, but it seems like these things take a lot of time. What should I do?
Yeah, start small. Give it a little bit of time every single day and set it aside. I think if you just want to start a company, you don't have an idea, the tech transfer office is a perfect place to come to. First off, because we have ideas that, like we said, are totally researched for you, and I've been astounded at the depth of ideas and like just how amazing they are. I wish I could take like 5 or 10 of them and run with it, but I don't have enough time. But yeah, starting small. If you have 30 minutes a day, use that 30 minutes, put all technology aside, all homework aside, sit there and just think about things that you have a little bit of expertise in. Think about things that can be a little bit better that you already experienced as a pain. And then because of the fact you're setting aside there's 30 minutes a day, throughout the day, there's plenty of times where you're walking between classes or where you're like making food or whatever it may be, driving. Those are perfect times for you to be thinking about what you've done in the day, things you've come across, and how you could fix them. There's always mind time that can be utilized. So just look for that in your day and start there. Once you have an idea that you're passionate about, I can almost guarantee that you'll find time because of how excited you are for it.
Yeah. My wife always says that we find time for the things that matter to us.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're not finding time, it just might not be a priority. But if this is a priority, then definitely you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been really great, Jason. Thanks for your answers. The final thought, I just want to get your take on this. Personally, I feel like most college students should start a business of some type during college. Thoughts?
I would say almost everybody that I've talked, and again, I'm in the entrepreneurship side of things, but even others that I've talked to, the end goal for most people is to start their own company. Why wait? Why not like gain experience now in a playground type area where it's like free forming and you're fine if you make a mistake and you're fine if you like have a company that fails. In fact, that's sometimes seen as a positive moving forward. This is the perfect time where you have the least commitment for other things that you will have. Even if you are married right now, you can start something with your significant other or talk with them about your idea. I would say just start. Now is the best opportunity and start small. Attack your goals by sub goals. I feel so blessed with the fact that I've been able to tap into the entrepreneurship side of things at BYU, and it's made a ginormous impact on where my career is going to go probably.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Jason. And for BYU students specifically, I would say, look, at BYU, we believe one of our values is serving the world. We want to make the world a better place. We're trying to get our technologies out there from tech transfer because they solve problems for people. One of the best ways you can serve people is by starting a business. Businesses only make it if they're solving problems for people, and that's a fantastic thing to do.
Totally.
So let's end on that note, and then we'll be back next week with another episode.